He's been called one of the most powerful and secretive drug lords in modern history. This is the story of El Mencho and how his absolutely violent empire came crashing down. So, how do you find the world's most wanted man? Where do you even start looking for a ghost? Well, it turns out not in some high-tech fortress. He was hiding in plain sight. Picture this, a sleepy little mountain tourist town in Mexico. You know the type, cobblestone streets, really peaceful scenery. But deep in the woods, just on the outskirts of town, a massive raid was about to go down. And right at the center of it all, this guy, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, but everyone knows him as El Mencho. I mean, this guy was practically a ghost. There are barely any recent photos of him. And get this, there was a $5 million bounty from the US on his head. The stakes here? Yeah, they couldn't possibly be any higher. Okay, so let's break down how it all went down in those final 48 hours. It all starts on February 20th. Mexican intelligence gets a huge break. They track an associate of El Mencho's partner. The next day, his partner leaves the safe house. But El Mencho? He stays behind. And that was it. That was their shot. Before dawn on the 22nd, Mexican special forces go in hard. A firefight kicks off, but he actually manages to escape into the woods. It takes a second gun battle before he's finally captured, and by then, he's severely wounded. He ends up dying while they're airlifting him to Mexico City. I mean, a former DEA chief called this one of the most significant operations in the history of drug trafficking. So, mission accomplished, right? Well, not exactly. See, his death should have been the end, but it was only the beginning. And what happened next? Seriously, nobody saw it coming. So to really get what's going on here, we've got to rewind. We have to go back. Who was this guy, El Mencho? I mean, how does a poor farmhand become a narco kingpin so powerful, so feared, that his death could literally bring an entire country to its knees? All right, so his story kicks off way back in 1966 in one of Mexico's absolute poorest regions. He's born into a family of avocado farmers, and life is tough. So tough, he drops out of school in just the 5th grade to help his family work. By the time he's 14, he's already guarding local marijuana fields, so like so many others, he starts looking for a better life and crosses illegally into the US in the 80s, chasing that American dream. But the dream he found was a life of crime. So in 1992, he gets arrested for selling heroin in California and is deported back to Mexico. And this is where the story takes an unbelievable turn. You're not going to believe this. After he gets sent back, this convicted U.S. drug dealer becomes a Mexican police officer. Seriously. And for years, he learned the system from the inside out. He figured out who to bribe, how to corrupt people, and he learned exactly where every single weakness was in the system he would one day wage war against. And you better believe that inside knowledge became one of his deadliest weapons. He eventually marries into a cartel family, rises through the ranks, and then, in 2010, he breaks off to start his own thing, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or the CJNG. And let me be clear, this was no simple street gang. What he built was a full-on paramilitary empire. The way the CJNG operated was just with stunning efficiency. It was like a multinational corporation. Think about it. They controlled the major port of Manzanillo to import precursor chemicals from China. They ran over 100 meth labs to manufacture the product. They used insane levels of violence. We're talking shooting down military helicopters with RPGs to dominate their territory. And by 2019, they were supplying at least a third of all the drugs coming into the US. It got so bad, one federal investigator said, "Not since Pablo Escobar has a drug mafia so brazenly challenged a state." And that really hits the nail on the head. El Mencho wasn't hiding from the government. He was taking the fight to them head on. So what was fueling this crazy, meteoric rise? I mean, meth was a huge cash cow for them, for sure. But their most profitable and their most dangerous product was something else entirely. A synthetic opioid so unbelievably potent, it would change the game forever. Fentanyl. Just look at this. 2 milligrams. That's all it takes. That is a lethal dose. To put that in perspective, that's about the size of a few grains of salt on the tip of your finger. That tiny amount is all it takes to kill a fully grown person. It's terrifying. So you might be asking, why on earth would they push something so deadly? Well, the answer is simple. The money is just staggering. A single fentanyl pill cost them about 10 cents to make. 10 cents. On the street in the US, that same pill can go for $10, sometimes more. Do the math. That's a profit margin of almost 10,000%. The financial incentive is it's almost impossible for them to resist. Okay, so how does a cartel like the CJNG get this powerful? It's a fair question. And the tough truth is, the system on both sides of the border, well, it almost feels like it was designed to let them thrive. In Mexico, it all comes down to this one chilling phrase, plata o plomo. It means silver or lead. And it's the choice the cartels give to pretty much every official, from the local mayor all the way up to police chiefs. Take our bribe, the silver, and look the other way, or take a bullet, the lead. That one strategy has been systematically hollowing out Mexican institutions for decades. But look, the US isn't off the hook here. America played a huge role through, honestly, a chain of pretty big policy failures. After NAFTA opened up the floodgates for trade back in '94, it also accidentally created a superhighway for narcotics. Then you have lax gun laws that fuel a constant, steady flow of American weapons heading south. And to top it all off, there was this botched ATF operation, Fast and Furious, that literally put over 2,000 of those weapons directly into the hands of the cartels. Just wow. And all of that brings us right back to where we started. It's February 22nd, 2026. El Mencho is dead. This should be a moment of victory, right? But instead of a celebration, Mexico found itself staring straight into the abyss. See, the CJNG didn't fall apart. They didn't fracture or flee. Not at all. Instead, El Mencho's second-in-command gave a single order, and that order unleashed a perfectly coordinated campaign of narco-terrorism across the entire country. I mean, just look at the sheer scale of this retaliation. We're talking simultaneous attacks happening in 20 different states. Gunmen were setting fire to cars, to businesses, creating more than 250 roadblocks. Guadalajara, which is Mexico's second-largest city, basically became a ghost town. They even put a bounty on the head of every single Mexican soldier. The message could not have been clearer. We are the ones in control here. So, okay, after all of this, after the raid, the incredible violence, the absolute chaos, you just have to ask, what comes next? Is there any possible way to actually break this cycle? This really lays out the brutal reality of the whole situation. It's not a Mexican problem. It's a global crisis. You have this unbreakable supply chain. As long as there's this massive, insatiable demand for drugs in the United States, cartels are going to be there to supply it. As long as American guns keep flowing south, the cartels will always have the firepower. As long as corruption gives officials the choice of silver or lead, the government there will be weakened. And as long as those precursor chemicals are easy to get from China, well, the drugs are just going to keep getting made. And all of that leaves us with one final, kind of haunting question, doesn't it? For decades, the strategy has always been the same. Go after the kingpins, cut off the head of the snake. But as history shows us time and time again, when you cut off the head of the hydra, it doesn't actually die. It just creates a power vacuum, and more often than not, two more heads, often even more violent ones, just grow right back in its place.